All right, folks, how you doing? Welcome back. So this is the Cast No Shadows Part 3. Disclaimer, under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Dr. Mark McMenamin. Dr. Mark McMenamin, a professor of geology at Mount Holyoke College in Massachusetts, discovered that Phoenician gold coinage bore minute markings corresponding to the outlines of several geographic regions, including South America. The professor's findings are supportive of bronze figurines which were discovered in 1641 by Jesuit priests. Seafaring Phoenicians. So inscriptions on the figurines have been identified by Vatican scholars as Phoenician. The coins and figurines strongly suggest that the seafaring Phoenicians had established widespread trading relationships during the Biblical era. Additional evidence that the Phoenicians had visited South America is provided by a stone discovered in Brazil more than a century ago. The Parahyba text. So the stone, known as the Parahyba text, bears a Phoenician inscription describing a voyage by Phoenician merchants who had departed from the Mediterranean port of Sidon during the 6th century BC. At the same time that the city of Carthage was being built during the 8th century BC, the Spanish coastal city of Tarshish prospered, as metallic ore mined by the Basque natives was traded to Phoenicians who had settled in the region. The Tarshish. So unlike the flimsy coastal hugging craft that plied the Mediterranean during the Biblical era, the Phoenician ships or Tarshish, with their graceful swan-like bows and leather sails, were large ocean-going vessels. Moreover, the Basque seafarers or Tarshish possessed exceptional navigational skills, which had evolved from their employment of a base 7 mathematical system, similar to that of the Irish Celts. Mount Ararat. So in the interests of good scholarship, we must search for a matriarchal figure possessing a ceremonial stone, preferably descended from a Middle Eastern tribe or clan, whose arrival in Ireland substantially predated the era of the Tia Tefi. Our search for such a person begins not in Ireland, but at an elevation of 5,200 feet up the western flank of Mount Ararat. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers, so believed to have been founded by Queen Semiramis. According to Armenian tradition, it is located near Lake Van. In prehistoric times, this lake supplied the headquarters of both the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. The tribal people of antiquity who originally inhabited this region were short-statured and dark-haired, similar to the Picts. Van Lake, or forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it, Lilin y Fanfach. Sorry, I don't speak Welsh, unfortunately. A serpent-worshipping race, the Vans have become confused with the solar-worshipping, fair-haired, blue-eyed Phoenicians in Wiccan and New Age literature. The Vans' tribal name became appended to the names of countries and townships which sprang up as they migrated to Britain and Ireland. Van Lake in Wales, Lilin y Fanfach, again, sorry if I'm butchering it, was traditionally sacred to the Lady of the Lake. Princess Tia Tefi. The Christian fundamentalists and Mormons claim that the British are the descendants of the lost tribes of Israel, primarily the tribe of Dan. According to the fundamentalists, the first Israelites to settle Britain were Princess Tia Tefi, possibly Queen Scota, I'm not entirely sure on that, and her retinue circa 1250 BC. The Danites were the sea peoples who, quote, dwelt on ships according to the Bible and lived in Phoenician territory. We'll get into Queen Scota later on down the line when we cover Ralph Ellis, but I'm not really sure where Brian Desborough is going with that. Because when I Googled Tia Tefi, thinking, did he mean Queen Scota? There are links there, but anyway, we'll see, I guess. Boat trip to Avalon. The fact that the British clearly are the descendants of Phoenician colonists, as exemplified by inscriptions on ancient British monoliths, is an obfuscated facet of early British history. The truth behind the legend of King Arthur also has been obscured, both by political expediency and the passage of time. Are the stories of his exploits and his final mysterious boat trip to Avalon true, or is it all merely a romantic fable? Very good question. Anglo-Saxon rule. Arthur purportedly was born circa 475 AD. At the time of his birth, Rome had withdrawn its four occupying legions, and the eastern half of Britain was under Anglo-Saxon rule. Early British history fulfilled an oral tradition whereby trained bards meticulously transmitted historical events by word of mouth. The association with dragons probably stems from the Saint George and the Dragon fable, which originated in King Brutus's homeland of Phoenicia. Ineffectual battles. So, a British ruler named Arthur fought a series of battles in the border country of northern England during the 6th century AD. It is understandable that the story of Arthur still would be known today in the border country of northern England, but why would the exploits of a local chieftain whose ineffectual battles fought in a remote region were not even mentioned in the Anglo-Saxon chronicles attain such heroic proportions throughout Western Europe? The King Arthur of legend. So something is clearly amiss with the Arthurian epic as presented by the medievalist historians. Is that even a word, by the way, medievalist? I don't know. Anyway, it sounds made up. I've never heard that word before. The medieval writers confused the activities of two different rulers who lived some 4 centuries apart. As a result, the King Arthur of legend is in actuality a composite of the 6th century border chieftain named Arthur and Caractacus or Caradoc of the 1st century of the present era. The toast of Roman society are Arviragus? Yeah, I think that's how you say it. Caractacus was a person of very high ideals who was held in high esteem by his Roman captors and, together with his daughters, became the toast of Roman society. Moreover, Caractacus bore the tribal appellation Arviragus or Arthur. According to both Geoffrey of Monmouth and Hector Boas, Arviragus became famous not only in Rome but also throughout Europe. The Arthurian battles. So, the claim by Geoffrey of Monmouth that the Arthurian battles were fought in the vicinity of Camelot Dun or Winchester would not be correct for an Arthur living in the 6th century AD whose battles were fought in the north, but would of Caractacus during the 1st century AD. Caractacus' major battles were all fought in southern England. Excalibur, the Phoenician sun cross. So the legendary Lady of the Lake may well have been Anna, the sister of Caractacus, who was married to Aaron Reged. He bore the appellation Lechlin, meaning lake, thus possibly making Anna the Lady of the Lake, who gave Arthur or Caractacus the sword Excalibur. As we have seen, the Phoenicians established colonies in Britain at an earlier historical period. Excalibur, therefore, may represent the Phoenician sun cross. And check out the cartoon He-Man on the bottom right. What's that he's got on his chest, with blonde hair and all the rest of it, blue eyes. Now, it's interesting comparing what Brian Desborough is saying here in They Cast No Shadows with the Silurian Wars with Rome, particularly part 2 that I've just covered, and also part 3 coming up, where Beaumont actually covers Caractacus. And when you compare and contrast, it's rather interesting because I'm going to, finish off the Silurian Wars with Rome series quite soon. So when you compare what Beaumont is saying with what Desborough is claiming here, as David Icke likes to say, join the dots. It's pretty interesting stuff. So thank you for watching and leave your thoughts and comments below as always. See you next time.